All right, we are live. Let me check the audio. Happy New Year's, everybody. This is going to be a great year. We have a lot of momentum going for us. So, today we're going to look at this deal in Birmingham, a little bit close to the Section 8 rental that I already have in Fairfield. My property is closer to right here, so just across the highway. I was looking at some properties, and it's New Year, so let's just stay consistent together, everybody. Let's stay consistent. Let's start off the year with a lot of positive momentum and keep refining our skills on underwriting. So, this property is a 3-bed, 1-bath, 1,215 square feet. Let's take a quick look at this property. Let's see, we'll go through some of these photos over here. Boom. Looks like they put some concrete layer. Or is that a mat? That's a weird front. Probably laid some concrete, I'm assuming. All right, backyard's fine. Floors doesn't look that bad. You probably can refinish it. The kitchen doesn't look terrible. They probably burned something there. So quick little cosmetic rehab in the kitchen wouldn't hurt, in my opinion. Put like a actual range stove in there. A little popcorn ceiling. A little baseboard needs a little cleaning up. So I will at least set some money aside to paint the place. Maybe I can get rid of this wood panel thing, make it a little bit light to go with the floor. I would probably replace this bathroom, to be honest with you. It's a little bit old. I would just get rid of it. But that's just my own personal opinion. So 3-bed, 1-bath. Let's do a quick street view of it because it's really street by street here in the Birmingham market. I'm just looking for a lot of signs of like a lot of trash out front. Birmingham's going to have a lot of much older homes. Looking for signs like just boarded up homes. Let's see what we got here. Let me go back down this way because I want to look behind the house. How does the street look behind the house? Because that's going to... Oh, there's a fire damage house right here. Can't control fires, but what else can we control? How do other people take care of their homes? Not bad. All right. Let's go to top.com, TOPHAP.com, and we're going to check on the crime score. Now, when you come to tophap.com, you can plug in the address and then plug in go to the neighborhood section, and then you're going to be able to see the crime score. Now, normally, I think 130 is a really, really high crime score. However, you really want to ask a local agent or a local property manager because it's really street by street, almost similar to how Detroit is. Because I have another home across the highway from here, and it's really, really street by street. So you got to get someone to go out there and walk the property. So this is really high, in my opinion. Not something I love, but something that we just got to take into mind and ask some local expertise there. I got a property management company out there right now, so I can always ask them about this neighborhood to see what they think of this area, etc. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look up the FMR, fair market rents. And you can do this by getting the county first from Redfin. You can see that right here. It says this is in Jefferson County. So when you click on HUD FMR, you can go down to click on access to small area FMRs, click on FY 2024 FMRs. Then you select the state, and then you can select the county. Once you get over here, you're going to be able to get the fair market rent by bedroom by zip code. Let's see what we got here. 35221. So 35221, a 3-bedroom. The maximum rent here is 1420, 1420. All right. So we're going to note that down. Let's put that over in my spreadsheet. 1420. 35221, 1420. A 4-bed is, what is that? And I always take down a 4-bed just in case there is an opportunity to creatively add an extra bedroom. But right now, I'm just going to underwrite it using the 1420. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the market rents. When you go to affordablehousing.com, you go to the market rent estimator, and then you can copy and paste your address into the address section. I'm pretty sure that's it. Click on the bedroom count. And you're going to see this number here on where it says 967, okay? For 25 units within a 1.26 mile radius, the average rent for this property is 967, okay? Great. Let's plug that in here, 967. And I want to just make sure I check the other address just in case it's somewhere else. Okay, still the same thing. Okay. So then I'm going to plug in all these numbers. 1049, you see that here, 1110 right here, and then 1482 right here. And I got all these numbers in there now. Great. Then I want to get in there and start plugging some numbers for the deal. There's an on-market deal, not the creative finance subject to deals that we've been looking at. So here's the $90,000. Right now, this rent here, I want to underwrite using 967. Okay. And the reason I'm going to put this up, I'm going to bring it up to 1,000 because chances are I'm going to renovate this property to a nicer standard than everybody else is going to. And secondarily, I also have a friend, another one of the community members in the affordable housing and real estate investing community, who has a property near this property about 3 to 5 minute drive away. And he's getting currently $11.75 in rents for a property in this area, in the zip code specifically. So I'm going to underwrite this using 1,000, and then I'm going to underwrite it using $11.75. Okay. Now the reason those rents are under the FMR is because that's the market rent, but also there is a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test, and in the rent reasonableness test, they will say, hey, just because the FMR is 1420 does not mean we will allow you to charge 1420, because you can't charge a voucher holder more rent than what the market determines is fair simply because they are a voucher holder. Now, 967 to 1420, huge gap, right? Huge. So that's why I always try to get other people's experience in the local market. And this is one of the benefits of being in the affordable housing and real estate investing community. Because with limited information, what we would normally have done is let's just assume 967. But if I know someone in the area in the same zip code about 3 to 5 minute drive away that's getting 1175 for a 3-bedroom property, well, I'm going to take that value because that's better information, right? They just got tenant approved. They're getting their inspection right now. So that is much, much better information. Great. So I'm going to underwrite 1,000 and 1175. Okay. Next thing I want to do is get the property tax number. And I got this right from Redfin. You see the property tax number in the payment calculator. That's where I got an 80. Then for 70, for the monthly insurance, I'm going to take the 70 and multiply by 1.2 simply because usually these homeowner insurance estimates is for a primary residence policy. So I at least add extra 20% premium. For expenses, I got 10% set aside for maintenance every single month. So $100 of 1,000 is set aside every single month, anticipating that there is going to be something that needs to be maintained. Like, for example, right now I got a HVAC inspection that takes place every 6 to 12 months, and that cost me about $100 or so. So this is real money that you have to spend. It's not like it's a make-believe number. That's how much I pay my current property manager to do a HVAC maintenance and just to do a walk around on the property to make sure everything is in tip-top shape. That's just my style. You don't have to do it, but it's preventive maintenance, and I always believe in preventive maintenance. I got 8% for property manager, which is what I'm paying in the area right now, and I got 5% for vacancy, slightly higher. All right. So let's go through the rehab calculator. Okay, this was, how many square feet was? 1215. All right. So when I went through this property, I am going to set aside $1,500 for the roof, just in case there are any issues with the property on the roof that I cannot tell from just the photos, whether there's a leak, blah, 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 whether there's a small repair that's needed. I'm going to set aside $500 to maintain the place, clean the landscaping, etc., while I am purchasing the property and doing some minor renovations to clean up the property. Next thing I have on the sheet is I'm setting aside $3 a square foot to paint the place, which is $12.15, right? That should easily cover all those little baseboard issues that we saw and any blemishes that might be on the walls that we did not see simply from looking at the photos. All right. And as I go down, I got $8,000 right now to renovate the entire bathroom in that property. The bathroom's a little bit older, so I want to put in some like high pressure flush toilets to prevent any issues of clogs. That's what I have in my Airbnbs right now, and I've never gotten a clogged toilet call yet. So I'm going to spend that premium and buy a nicer toilet so I can avoid those issues. All right. And as I go down to this list, I'm going to have another $2,500 set aside for a water heater replacement, just because I can't see the water heater. It does not look like it's inhabited right now by anybody. So I'm going to have extra $2,500 there. That doesn't mean that it's a requirement, I just have it there to set aside for myself. And then I got another $1,000 for termite issues. All right, cool. So this equals a $20,574 rehab, even with a additional 20% contingency. Okay, so let's go through this. Right now, I have $1,000 for rent, and I'm going to assume I'm giving a 25% down on this property. Let me see, I can put this into the middle so you guys can see a little bit better. And I'm underwriting at 8.25%. I've seen DSCR loans get rated. Hey, Tina. So nice of you to join. All right. And 8.25%. That's what I am going to be using as my interest rate. I've seen DSCR loans being quoted right now at about 8%. So I'm underwriting with a slightly higher interest rate, again, just to be conservative. We can even knock this down to 8% if you really want. But hey, let's just leave it at, let's do it for 8% just to make it a little bit more favorable. All right. So I got 25% down, and I got 2.5% closing costs, which equals to $2,250. I got $20,000 of renovations. That equals to $45,000 entry fee on this property. Okay. Now, after all those expenses that we talked about, if my gross rent is $1,000, okay, I'm going to cash flow $110, and I feel pretty good about this 110, right? Because if I get less maintenance, great. But this allows me to get a 2.9% cash on cash return, which is not a deal for me personally. So what's next? We are going to go through 25% down, 8% interest rate. All right. We're going to go through the different scenario analysis that we always talk about. Okay. Now, the next scenario I want to go through is changing the rent to $1,175 because we have a community member who has a property near this area who's getting $1,175 for his 3-bedroom property, and their square footage was really similar, and it was also 3-1. Great. So I'm going to use $1,175 because I have more updated information simply from being in the same community as other affordable housing investors. This is information that you are privy to because you are part of the affordable housing and real estate investing community. This is why it's a community. We are there to help one another and give each other better information so we can be a little bit less afraid. Because there was no way I would underwrote at $1,175 had I not known another investor in that area that's getting $1,175. Okay. Now, I also have another property all the way over here, and I'm getting $1,100 for their rent, right? So $1,175 seems a little bit reasonable because right across the highway, not too far away, but they're getting. I know somebody else that has a home that's a little bit just further down, but they are getting $1,175. Great. That is great, great, great information. So let's go and analyze this deal, assuming $1,175 for rent. At $1,175 for rent, how much am I cash flowing now? I'm cash flowing $245 a month, and my cash on cash return is 6.5% return. That was still assuming a $90,000 purchase price at $25,000, $20K rehab, 25% down. Oops, why did I jump like that? 25% and then 8% interest rate. Cool. All right. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to keep this $1,175 constant, and I'm going to think about what do I need to do to earn a 15% cash on cash return on this property? How much do I need to pay? $60,000, $55,000. Okay, so if I buy this property, assuming $1,175 is my gross rent, I will be very happy getting this deal at $55,000. Does that mean the seller is going to go for it? No. But the point of this exercise is to show you that for every single property, there is a number that works based on whatever investment criteria that you have. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to do is, well, what if I overestimated my rehab? $20,000 could be a pretty big rehab on a $9,000 home. So what if my rehab was actually half? Okay. And I get someone to go out there and walk the property, and they're like, hey, this is actually how much it's going to cost. All right. So now if I lower my rehab to $10,000, 68, what can I purchase for to still get a 15% return? Great. If my rehab is completely off, I should be willing to pay $68,000 for this property because at $1,175, I will cash flow $366, right, on this property. And this is a 15.2% cash on cash return, assuming that I am able to pay I'm just going to call it 10,000 just to keep it easy. So here's all the variables that have changed right? That have changed since I analyzed the deal. Okay, great. Let's go through more scenarios here. So this allows this to become a deal at 55 grand if I'm getting 1175, or this is also a deal if I have someone walk the property and they say, hey, your rehab is only going to be 10 grand. So now I'm going to be willing to offer $68,000 instead of $55,000. And $68,000 is a lot closer to $90,000, which is what's listed for currently, right? So these are all items that you have to pay attention to keep in mind on what's going to make it a deal. All right. So let me change this back to the original rehab number. Okay. Put this back on $90,000. Let me see if this property is owned free and clear on PropStream. Let's see that's logged in. 3608 Oak Ave. Let's see who's going to log in. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, here we are. We're on PropStream now. We're pulling up the property, 3608 Oak Ave Southwest. And this is a real live property, right? It's on the market. You guys are all privy to it. You guys can all see it on Redfin. And I'm going to go ahead to mortgage transaction history. Now, usually, if there is a loan on the property, usually you will see it right here, but I'm not seeing anything come up. So I'm going to assume that it is owned free and clear right now. So if I leave it at $90,000, I have to think about, well, what would make it a deal and get 15% if I'm able to pay $90,000 still, okay? So what terms I want to offer? Again, I'm assuming 1175 is still the number. I'm assuming that $90,000 is still the purchase price from our original scenario. I'm gonna assume that I'm still, let's just put this to 20% down, okay? Because that's a little bit more common. And I'm gonna lower my interest rate now to see what number I can get to get it to come down to 15, to get it to go up to 15% return. 2.51. Okay. If I give this person a 20% down at 1% interest rate, so there's some interest, right? I would be able to cash flow 509, and this would be a 15% cash on cash return, and everything else stays the same. So here's the term that makes it work. If this property owned it free and clear, and I'm still getting $1175 for rent, I can pay $90,000 if I'm able to get a seller finance deal for 20% down at 1% interest rate. Great. Now, why might a seller go for that? So they would get the $90,000, which maybe they might not get any offers right now, but they would be getting interest on that 1% for the first 10 years, whatever the balloon might be that you agree with them. And let me put this in loan 1 so you guys can see how much interest rate it is. Okay, 10-year balloon. The balloon amount is going to be 50 grand in 10 years, assuming they go for the 10-year balloon. And let's see if I can find how much interest I would get. So the person will get $6,144. So in 10 years from now, they will also get an additional $6,000 of interest, even at just a 1% interest rate for that deal. So that's one way you can present it to the seller. Okay. The next thing I want to do is, hey, what if the seller wants some more interest or they want more cash in? So what if I gave them a 25% down, but now, oops, before minus this cash seller. Oops. Why do that? Minus B4 minus this number. Shifting up for a second. So now 67,500 is the amount being financed. And let's see how much interest rate can I charge. Okay. So if I decide to give a bigger down payment to the seller, which is still 25%, but they give me a 0% interest rate offer, which is great because it's principal only payments, I will cash flow $553, and my cash on cash return is still 14.7, which I will still go for that deal, like 0.3%. That's not really that far off. But these are all the scenarios that would make it a deal. And hopefully that makes sense for all of you that's watching right now. This is how I determine whether or not it can be a deal. Now, assuming 1175 is the rent I'll get, right? Because that's based on information that I've gotten from another investor in the area from our community, affordable housing and real estate investing. And you guys can always DM me your email or DM me the word affordable so I can send you the invite to our free Facebook community full of affordable housing investors. And that's why I got 1175. Then I played around with the multiple numbers and said, hey, what if this stays on the market and I get a if I get a DSCR loan at 25% down, 8% interest rate, what purchase price does it need to be, assuming a $20,000 rehab? Well, that's 55 grand. Well, what if I overestimated my rehab and now it's actually really 10 grand? Well, now I'm willing to pay $68,000, right? Okay, cool. Well, just for fun, let's do one more. What if my rehab was halved and my seller wants more interest? Well, now all of a sudden, I'm able to give 3.5% interest rate. So if my rehab was halved at 10,000, let's do this. I'm still giving them $90,000. I'm still getting 1175 for rent, $437. Because my rehab is half at a lower cash flow, I'm still getting 15% return because of a lower cash out of pocket. But now I can give a 25% down at 3.5% interest rate. And this person would be making $21,000 over the first 10 years of the loan. So now this could be a deal, right? Simply because my rehab was halved and I overestimated it. So these are all scenarios that you have to go through to determine what you're willing to pay. Similarly, if you have someone walk the property and they find so much damage on the property, hey, Gabriella, good to see you. Happy New Year. And that's also another way you can figure out whether or not that's a deal. So by changing the purchase price, the rehab, the seller finance area, and also the interest paid, you have determined all the different sets of terms that allows this deal to be a deal based on your own investment criteria. My criteria is 15% cash and cash return. So that's what I pick. For you, if your cash and cash return requirement is 10%, you might be willing to give an offer on this property that I would not be willing to give an offer. So this is not a solicitation for any investments. I'm simply showing you how I'm doing the work every single day. And one of my mentors, Pace Morby, said this really, really well yesterday. When people talk about how many deals they had, there is implied work. And the implied work here is the underwriting that needs to take place before you ever buy a deal. It's understood that when you have 100 deals or 100 apartments in your portfolio, it's understood that you analyze probably 100, if not 1,000 deals or 10 times more deals than you actually own. This is the implied work. This is the work that people don't talk about. But this is the work that's so necessary for all of us to go through and analyze these deals together. So in this scenario, we just came through for one on-market property. Let's back up and just summarize everything that we talked about on this deal. First thing we did, we looked at the property. We did a street view drive-by. We went to tophalf.com, and then we got the crime score. Then we got the FMR through the HUD's website, which is the fair market rents. Then we got the market rent from affordablehousing.com, and we did the market rent estimator, okay? Then we pulled all the numbers from the Redfin listing, from the payment calculator. So we've gone to county. Where's the payment calculator? Property taxes. Whoops. Payment calculator right here. And we got the insurance and the homeowner area. Then we plugged in all the numbers. And we got into purchase price, the rehab, the rent. We started with the $1,000 for market rent. And then we bumped up to $1,175 because we had better information from other folks. Okay. Then we plugged in all the numbers, all the expenses, and then we played around with the scenarios. We start off with assuming it was $1,000 rent. Then we bumped up the rent to $75 because better information that we have from other community members. Then we adjusted the purchase price, assuming everything else held constant. Then we adjusted the purchase price based on a better or a quote unquote lower rehab, because what if I was overestimating my rehab? So now I can decide whether or not it's worth me sending a contractor out there to give us a bid. because you got to value the time of your contractors. Good contractors are supposed to be busy. So you have to really understand whether or not it's worth a while for you to send them out, or even pay them to do an itemized bid for you. So you're compensating them for their time that they're spending on your deals. Then we looked at, well, what if we own this property, it was owned free and clear, and the seller is not able to get the price that they want at $90,000? Well, how do we offer terms that allows them to still get the price that they want, $90,000, but for a set of terms that work for us? Well, here's what we found. We said, hey, if the rehab is still $20,000, well, we can give a 20% down, and and then we can also get 20% down, 1% interest rate. So the seller will walk away with the extra $6,000 of interest after 10 years. The other scenario that we went through is, well, what if they want the higher down payment? So I say we can give a higher down payment, 25% down, and give a 0% interest rate, and now still yield us a criteria of cash and cash return of 14.7. Well, what if my rehab was a lot lower? Well, now it's $10,000, and I can now give up to a 3.5% interest rate, which means over the course of 10 years, assuming you have a 10-year balloon, that seller will make an additional $21,000, right? Hopefully, all these different scenarios help explain to you what makes it a deal based on your own criteria. All right. This is fun. See, this is why we do this every single day, is because this way you get a practice on, and with real properties that are on the market right now. And I hope all of you will simply do and copy the same spreadsheets that I'm using right now and put it on your own YouTube channel. Today is the first of the year. So if you didn't have any commitments, or you didn't have any habits that you want to work on, this would be a great one. Please, you can just, sometimes it's so hard to figure out what the next step is. And that's okay. But if you were just copy the same property that I just did using the same spreadsheet, you can DM me on Instagram, your email, and I can send you the spreadsheet. I've been very fortunate. I've been given the spreadsheet by other folks, and I've been able to modify it to fit what I need to analyze the deals at the efficiency and the speed that I want. And what I would do is I will simply put it on my own YouTube channel. You can do the same. You if you don't want to put your own face on your YouTube channel, just do a mass version. Like, you don't have to show your face, but just stream it on YouTube. Put it on your own YouTube page, because eventually a partner is going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, you can then point them to your own YouTube channel and say, well, I think this is a deal because I have looked at 100 deals. Or if you do this consistently with me for a whole year, you can say, I've looked at 365 deals. And you just spend 18 minutes a day analyzing deals every single day. Well, guess what? You will probably be better than 95% of America at analyzing deals. And now you can have a little bit more confidence in what you're doing, because you can look back at your own track history, your own track record, and look at how consistent you are by looking at your own YouTube channel and seeing how many deals you've analyzed. And then you can also tell your partners, this is how I know it's a deal, because I've seen 100 deals, 300 deals that were not deals, because that's implied work whenever you get a deal and no one ever talks about. It's rare, very rare that you analyze the first deal and you get a super home run deal on the first one, because chances are you might not even know how to analyze it. So please do this alongside with me. I have nothing to sell you. I have a lot of fun doing this with you. And thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Without folks like you, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Thank you so much for being a part of the affordable housing and real estate investing community. This is going to be a great year. I'll start this year off with an amazing amount of momentum. Let's keep analyzing deals together. Let's work on the right habits together. Let's do this daily. Thank you so much. Hey, have an amazing day. Happy New Year's, everybody. I'll be back here again tomorrow. Have a great day.